London, 1888. The air is thick with fog, the streets of Whitechapel glistening under gaslight. It is a time of poverty, desperation, and fear. In the narrow alleys and shadowed corners of the East End, a phantom stalks the night. He strikes silently, quickly, and without mercy. The victims are women of the slums, forgotten, vulnerable, and alone. Within weeks, 5 of them lie dead, their bodies mutilated with surgical precision. The killer leaves no trace, no witnesses, only a signature of horror carved into history. The press gives him a name that will never fade: Jack the Ripper. For more than 130 years, the world has searched for his true identity. But now, with new DNA evidence, a theory once dismissed may finally reveal the man behind the myth. This is Jack the Ripper, the final suspect. Theory: new DNA insights. Between August and November of 1888, the slums of Whitechapel became a hunting ground. The first victim, Marianne Nichols, was found in Bucks Row, throat cut, body mutilated. Then Annie Chapman in Hanbury Street. Soon after came Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Edos, murdered on the same night within an hour of each other. And finally, Mary Jane Kelly, the youngest, found in her room on Dorset Street, her body unrecognizable. The brutality escalated with each killing. The murderer worked quickly but with the skill of someone who understood anatomy. It was this precision that made police believe he could be a doctor, a butcher, or someone familiar with human dissection. Yet, despite massive manhunts, thousands of interviews, and endless theories, Jack the Ripper simply vanished into history. From the moment the killings stopped, suspects began to multiply. Doctors, aristocrats, artists, even royalty, all accused in newspapers and rumors. Some believed the killer was Montague John Druitt, a troubled barrister who drowned himself shortly after the murders. Others were certain it was Aaron Kosminski, a Polish barber with mental illness who lived in Whitechapel and matched several eyewitness descriptions. Still others pointed to Prince Albert Victor, grandson of Queen Victoria, weaving conspiracy theories that reached the heart of British power. But for over a century, none of these names could be proven. Then, in 2014, a new piece of evidence surfaced: a shawl said to have been found near the body of Catherine Edos, one of the Ripper's victims. It was preserved by a police constable's family for generations. On that fabric, forensic experts detected traces of blood and genetic material believed to belong to both the victim and her killer. Using advanced mitochondrial DNA testing, scientists compared the samples to living descendants of suspects. The results pointed directly to one man, Aaron Kosminski. His DNA matched the genetic profile found on the shawl, making him the first suspect in history to be linked to the Ripper murders through genetic evidence. Kosminski was a Polish immigrant working as a barber in the heart of Whitechapel. He suffered from severe paranoia and auditory hallucinations and was eventually institutionalized in an asylum. Police at the time did suspect him. In fact, the Assistant Commissioner of Scotland Yard, Sir Melville Macnaghten, wrote in his private notes that Kosminski was the prime suspect, but that there was not enough evidence to convict him. He was watched, followed, and eventually confined, after which the murders stopped. For modern investigators, that timing was too perfect to ignore. Still, not everyone accepted the DNA results. Critics argued that the shawl's provenance was uncertain, that it may not have come from the crime scene, and that contamination over the years could have affected the findings. Some scientists questioned whether the genetic markers used were unique enough to identify Kosminski, beyond doubt. But even with these doubts, the evidence lined up with the historical record, the location, the behavior, the eyewitness descriptions, and the psychological profile all pointed to the same man. The Ripper, it seemed, had not been a royal or a surgeon, but an immigrant barber living among his victims. Modern profiling supports this theory. Experts describe the killer as an organized yet impulsive predator. Familiar with the narrow streets of Whitechapel, able to blend in and disappear, Kosminski fit this description. He lived close to every crime scene, had violent delusions about women, and was known to carry a knife for work. Witnesses from 1888 described a man of medium build, dark hair, wearing shabby clothes, seen talking to victims shortly before their deaths, a description that fits him perfectly. When he was finally taken to an asylum in 1891, he refused to eat food prepared by others, convinced it was poisoned. He spent the rest of his life in silence, dying in 1919. Forensic experts in 2019 published a peer-reviewed study confirming that the mitochondrial DNA found on the shawl was consistent with that of Kosminski's maternal lineage. The hair and blood matched both the victim and the suspect, ruling out coincidence. While it cannot provide courtroom certainty, it remains the strongest scientific link ever discovered in the case. After more than a century of speculation, the puzzle pieces seem to align. Yet, the Ripper's legend refuses to die. Historians still argue over police errors, over hidden evidence, over political motives that may have kept the truth buried. Some still insist that the shawl was planted, or that Kosminski was a convenient scapegoat. The lack of modern chain of custody leaves doubt, and doubt is what keeps the story alive. But the truth may not lie in conspiracy or nobility. It may lie in something simpler. A man, invisible in plain sight, whose madness turned the dark alleys of London into a nightmare that still echoes today. The story of Jack the Ripper endures because it touches something primal, fear of the unknown, the unseen, the evil that hides in ordinary faces. Every theory, every name, every photograph of fog rolling over cobblestones carries the same haunting question. How could one man terrify a city and vanish without leaving a trace? Perhaps he never truly vanished. Perhaps his name was written down all along in police reports, in lost evidence, in DNA that waited over a century to speak. Today, standing in Whitechapel, the past feels close. The gaslights are gone, but the chill remains. The streets whisper stories of victims whose cries were swallowed by the night. And though history may finally have a suspect, the legend of Jack the Ripper still belongs to the fog, to the silence, and to the shadows where truth and myth have forever merged. This is Dark Case Files, and this was Jack the Ripper, the final suspect theory, new DNA insights.